Just because you might be a parent doesn't mean you have to give up gaming. And if you're raising a child, it doesn't mean you have to forget where you came from. We spoke to a bunch of gaming families to find out 10 things gamer parents would definitely do for their kids. Starting off at number 10, here's a good idea that we've seen a lot of people actually successfully pull off. Maybe you're the proud owner of a newborn child who also plays a lot of PC games, maybe League of Legends, maybe World of Warcraft, what have you. We've seen this been successfully done. Take an old laptop you may have lying around if you're lucky, and install TeamSpeak or Discord on it, mute the sound, and leave it in the baby's bedroom. That way it almost works like a baby monitor. Boom! You can hear your baby cry in TeamSpeak while you're playing a game. Now, however, of course, if you want to be the neglectful parent and you don't want to hear your baby and you don't want your baby in TeamSpeak, you can just ignore that baby and keep playing your game, but we don't advise that. And at number 9, this is something that if you are a parent who is a gamer, maybe it's just how you think of things in your head, but managing age or learning or the experience of a child almost like it's a sim game or another simulation game, maybe even an RPG. It sounds crazy, it sounds stupid and ridiculous. We haven't really actually seen a lot of examples of people doing this, but if you think about it, if you're new to parenting, it might be a good idea to think of managing your child similar to taking care of a sim. Because I think if you grasp and are pretty good at the concept of the Sims, you can at least be a somewhat competent parent. You can still raise a crappy kid, but at least you could probably, at the bare minimum, keep it alive. Because a lot of simulation games are really just micromanagement. These games are all about honing your time management skills. We've talked about this in other videos where gamers get skills from playing certain games. And if you've been playing some hardcore games for a long time, chances are you probably have some good time management skills, meaning you might actually be better at plotting out your child's life, getting them on the bus, bringing them to karate practice, feeding them, making sure they study. I don't know. But moving on to number 8, regardless of how you actually parent your child, it definitely helps to be like this guy. I feel like wearing those baby harness things out in public could be dorky, but when you're playing a game at a desk, it makes complete sense. And it's actually really the responsible thing to do. Your focus is completely on the game, you might be distracted and not see what your kid is doing. Now you have your kid right in front of you. That kid isn't going anywhere, he's not putting his fingers into any light bulb sockets or anything. And not only that, but he or she, the little baby, will be occupied and entertained by whatever is going on in the screen in front of them. Maybe the baby just really wants to see how you're doing in H1Z1, I don't know. I feel like if you really want to mess up a baby's face, you play Doom in 4K at like 120 frames per second. There you go, that'll keep that baby up for a week. And at number 7, I know one thing that a gamer parent would definitely do for their kids, and that would be being the annoying sports-focused parents, but with video games. You know, there's always that parent, maybe it was one of your parents, the parents that are really into your football practice. They want you to succeed, but they also push you very hard and they treat it like it's the big leagues. They're really probably doing that because they want to see you succeed and get on a team and get a scholarship or something. But as someone who plays games, I know if I had a kid, I would push that kid to be really good at games. It'd probably be pretty hard not to be a little bit of a jerk sometimes. Why did you go left? You should have went right. You shouldn't have dodged there. You should have parried. What are you doing? You know this. I honestly think that because some of us take it so seriously, we might scare other people away from playing games. Can you imagine like 5-10 years from now, hey, you want to go play Grand Theft Auto 7 after school? No, I don't really like video games. When I played Grand Theft Auto 7, all my parents did was talk about how much better something called San Andreas was. It can happen. Never say never. And at number 6, something that a gamer parent would definitely do for their kids, honestly, they might have to, is if you think about it, handing down your Steam library. If you're a PC gamer, chances are you probably have amassed a pretty huge digital library of games attached to your name by now. Gigabytes and gigabytes of games and hours of logged gameplay. This is getting kind of messed up, but what do you think is going to happen when you die? That account is still going to be there. So if you have a child, I think it is the right thing to do to hand the keys over to that child and give them access to your Steam library. And essentially, I guess, finish what you started, you know? Hopefully Steam and the digital game ecosystem lasts that long, I don't know. But could you imagine what that feels like, handing over your entire library and cloud saves and all your information to someone else? I probably couldn't even comprehend that, but as a parent with a child who's into games, it would probably be the right thing to do. However, if you're a bastard and you just want to screw over your kids, you can just only give them your passwords to your Origin and Uplay accounts. And at number 5, a good thing I think gamer parents would definitely do for their kids is be a bit more lenient when it comes to buying your kid the newest game or console. When I was younger, games are just as expensive as they were now, if not more, and convincing a parent to buy you a new video game was like pulling teeth because they just didn't understand the value and what the game was. My parents didn't really know much about games, so they just thought that one $60 game would last me a year. The last generation of gamers, we would play the hell out of games because we only had a few, but then when the time comes where we wanted another one, some parents just couldn't understand why. And the same thing goes with consoles. What do you mean you want an Xbox One? I just got you the Xbox 360. Dad, that was like 5 years ago. I think if you were a kid negotiating with a parent who also plays video games, it would be much easier to coax them into getting you the newest game or console or whatever. Honestly, that's a ball I wish I had in my court as a kid. And at number 4, something we've seen a lot that parents have done for their kids is if you're talented enough making or modding games for your kids. Recently in another video, we pointed out this example of a father who wanted to involve his little daughter in games a bit more, and she really liked Zelda but didn't totally click with it, so he modded the game to change the pronouns from male to female. Now look, some people might disagree with that parenting tactic, but it does seem kind of like a nice thing to do. An even bigger example is when developer Doug Smith made and released an app game called Chuggabugga on the App Store as a birthday gift for his daughter. Could you imagine having a full video game release as your birthday present? I definitely couldn't, but I do remember when Metal Gear Solid 3 released on my birthday. That was a big deal for me, but then again, Hideo Kojima isn't my dad. And at number 3, something a gamer parent would definitely do for their child is if their child was into video games, I think they'd be a little bit more lenient in terms of allowing more time for gaming for their child. You know, many parents push, hey, go outside, go do something with your life, stop being lazy, get out of the basement, blah, blah, blah. We've all heard it all. And a lot of that parental criticism and pushing comes out of a fear of the unknown. They don't really know what video games are. They don't understand how you could spend so much time with a video game. But a parent who has spent so much time with a video game and really understands it knows that video games are harmless. Video games aren't going to make you shoot up a school or anything. And so that parent with that knowledge would probably allow their child to play a bit more video games. That's down to the individual parent, of course. Everybody parents differently. But I'd like to think that in this situation, video games would have a better shot at getting the benefit of the doubt. And at number 2, something I think that is extremely valuable in the most useless sense for maybe a gamer parent is if their child grows up playing video games, they have access to your complete knowledge database in your brain of video game lore and information. Just think about it. If you play games and you have a child, no kid of yours is going to be lost or confused about a game. I mean, damn, by the time God of War 8 comes out, you're going to be able to sit them down and tell them the tale of the original Kratos and how he killed the God of War. Sure, if you think about it, it's completely useless information, but if a kid has an interest in a certain game or series, you can help nurture and cultivate that interest, and that could be kind of fun. In this situation, maybe your kid picks up a new game and you're essentially Han Solo in The Force Awakens telling Rey and Finn that everything was true. The Jedi, the Force, the Rebellion. It's all true. Honestly, I'm just using this to justify the huge amount of space that video game knowledge takes up in all of our brains for no reason, while we could have filled it with more useful things like where I left my car keys or how to do math. But I digress. And at number 1, a possibility we want to talk about for gamer parents is the idea of what we call classically training your child. Now, of course, we say everybody parents differently, you can do whatever you want, but think about how cool it would be as a parent to first introduce your kids to early consoles. You know, an Atari, a Nintendo, a Super Nintendo. And then as they get older, basically progress the generation of games with them. After a few years, they get used to Super Nintendo, upgrade them to the 64-bit era. Give them some 3D platformers like we played as a child, and then maybe even upgrade them to a PC, show them the original Quake or the original Doom, and just basically work your way through generations of games. That would be a really good and fun way not only for you to revisit old games, but for you to introduce some really fantastic games to your kids. I really wish I could have been raised by that, but technically I was because I'm an old piece of garbage. But regardless, we want to hear from you guys. We want to hear from all of you guys. If you are a parent who plays games, let us know how you feel about helping your kids play video games. Do you do any of the stuff on this list? Do you find yourself doing some of these more crazy things? Or maybe you don't want your kids to play video games at all. Maybe you don't want to share. And if you're a bit younger, let us know any way you've maybe helped your parents understand your hobby. Let's talk about any of this stuff, video games and parents and the issues within, down in the comments. And if you want to chat about any of this stuff a little bit more, I'll be on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Jake Baldino too. We'll be down there talking to you guys as much as possible, but as always, thanks for hanging out with us. Clicking that like button helps us out a ton, and we really appreciate it. But you need to know that if you're new, subscribing is a good idea because we put out videos every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.